Welcome back to 5-Star Matchup. If you like what we do, make sure you subscribe now and consider joining on Patreon to support the show. I'll admit, for the last 6 days or so, perhaps because I'm stuck in the content hell of making a show about a team that sucks, I've let myself fall into the worst spot you could possibly be in with a bad sports team. I've been hopeful. An ascending team facing a backup quarterback at home, followed by a hapless Panthers the following week, it all looked just too possible that my beloved Steelers were fixing to climb back to 500. Well, about that. Let's get this one started with a very on-the-button pass defense for Mr. Sutton, and the Ravens do nothing with their first possession. So far, so good. Out trots the growing rookie who hasn't turned the ball over in a month, and he throws down a couple nice runs to grab a first, but unfortunately on the next third down, he's under siege from a simple 3-man rush, and he goes down very hard, with Roquan Smith viciously slamming his head into the turf in what would ultimately be the most fateful moment of this game, just 4 minutes in. And there he is, looming like the ghost of Christmas past. It's the man they call Money Mitch warming up, and you already know where this is going. Cue up the expletives. Back to the Ravens, and Huntley scrambles for close to a first on 3rd and 2. Harbaugh weirdly challenges, no chance to win that, but he goes for it anyway, easily converting the 4th and inches to keep the drive alive. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A receiver wide open in the middle of the field against the Steelers defense grabs an easy first near midfield, and the Ravens are on the move. With enough time to bake a cake and let it cool, Huntley watches as half the Steelers secondary goes with Mark Andrews and leaves that same Mr. Robinson wide open on the sideline for a gainer. Say what you want about the pass coverage, but goddamn does the Steelers pass rush suck this year. Huntley can't find anything on 3rd though, and you might as well grab a drink because the greatest kicker in the history of the sport ain't missing an easy one. Ravens 3, Steelers nothing. Back to the Steelers, and surprisingly Kenny is still in there, though not for long, and it's a couple totes to the nodge to grab a few, but on 3rd, Kenny stares down and refuses to sling one for an easy conversion to DJ. Either he's concussed or scared he would have run backwards anyway, and it's last week's play of the game artist, Presley Harvin, who... yikes. So for those keeping track, that's an injured quarterback and a 17-yard punt, all in the first 12 minutes of this game against our fiercest rival. Not exactly how you'd write this one up. For all the people in the comments who say I'm hard on Presley, where ya at after this oinker? Oh, I wish the Lord would take me. It's been 5 long years since the Steelers got consistently good play out of the middle linebacker position, and here it burns them again as Devin Bush gets absolutely vacuumed up and Dobbins the elf dashes for a back-breaking chunk on the ground, stopped short of the end zone only by the Mink Man, but you can already tell where this is heading. Said it before and I'll say it again, Bush will not be starting in this league next year, and considering the invested cost to get him, he has a case to be the worst Steelers draft pick of all time. Very next play, why stop him now? JK cashes in and the game is suddenly 10-0 in the blink of an eye. Well, fuck. Might have been a series delayed, but the doctors pulled Kenny P, and here to haunt me like I was Ebenezer Scrooge, it's f***ing Mitchell Trubisky, who is fixing to ruin my whole ass week before it even gets started. Actually, a nice play by Mitch here should go for a first to the normally sure-handed backup quarterback Zach Gentry, but on 3rd he remembers there's always money in the Muth Man, and the ascending second-year tight end lumbers across midfield. Very next play, Money Mitch is looking deep and he drops a dime in the bucket of George Finger Pickens, who's strumming an old banjo at the 8-yard line. Love the aggressiveness from Mitch here, and I initially thought he underthrew this a bit, but on second glance it made the play tougher on the safety and good on George for making the tough grab. There's little I know for sure about this team, but number 14 is going to be a star. Speaking of Pickens, he uses his massive frame to box out the uber-talented Marlon Humphrey and draw a PI in the end zone, followed by a leap over the top for the always springy Najee, and the Steelers are proudly doing what they always do, setting me up for immense disappointment. Ravens 10, Steelers 7 as we head into the second. Back to the Steelers' hopeless run defense, and here they make Gus Edwards look like Eric Dickerson as he cuts outside for a gash on a day when the Ravens would eventually rack up 215 yards on the ground. Nice penetration and sack here by the normally quiet duo of Wormley and Alu puts Baltimore behind the 8 ball. But Huntley escapes for 4 on 3rd and 5, and Harbaugh says, fuck it, and goes for it again. And it doesn't go that well. Getting too fancy for their own good, Huntley loses the ball and gets smashed well behind the line again, and the Steelers are handed a chance to take control of this game on a silver platter. Finally, the Najman gets a little something on the ground reminiscent of the last few weeks, and on 3rd and 1, the suddenly great and short yardage Steelers go against type with a fake to Derek Watt and a toss to the Najman for a huge conversion. What was I saying about a silver platter? Steelers get handed an easy first after a pair of penalties, and at this point, the football gods are begging them to at least tie this game. And fuck. Yet again, it's a veteran quarterback making a rookie mistake as Trubisky chucks an inexcusable duck of a pick to Roquan Smith, who is single-handedly wrecking this game for the Steelers. Mitch stares at Muth like he was the Sistine Chapel and never notices the linebacker underneath. Don't worry, Mitch, I've made this mistake in Madden a million times. Of course, I don't make 7 figures to play ball, though. Never forget the Bears took this dude ahead of Patrick Mahomes. And while it's just a 3-point game, you know that pick was bigger than that, don't ya? Back to the better quarterback in this game, Huntley, who buys some time and finds an unbelievably wide open Deshaun Jackson for a chunk. Steelers D finally settles down as the Ravens approach a bigger lead heading into half, but mystifyingly, Mike Tomlin refuses to take any of his 3 timeouts, instead choosing to let the clock dwindle from 149 to 113. I guess that says everything about his confidence in the quarterback that won his sham competition in the preseason, and Justin Tucker connects on the 35-yarder to extend the Ravens' lead to an apparently insurmountable 6 points with just about a minute left in the half. To his credit, Trubisky gets the Steelers into the Boz's range with completions each to Deontay Pickens and the Muth Man. But you know trouble's always lurking with number 10 back there, and here it's no different as the remedial Trubisky closes his eyes and chucks a pigeon of a pass into the middle of 4 Ravens, and it's obviously picked again, this time by Patrick Queen. I try so hard to be positive and at the very least not really hate on players too much. I know their jobs are hard, especially quarterbacks, but goddamn do I hate watching Mitchell Trubisky play football. Like, genuine, seething hatred. I said it earlier in the season, but if I never see him take a snap for the Steelers again, it'll be too soon. This is just unforgivable. And for those keeping track at home, yes, this could very well be a tie ball game headed into the half. But it's not, and I'm only left to wonder if Deontay is gonna fight him at halftime again. Hello, 5-star viewers. I know damn well you aren't gonna be in a generous mood this week, so I'll skip my Patreon shtick. If you're watching, I appreciate ya. If you're not, I don't. Now roll the game. Into the 3rd quarter now, and of course the Ravens aren't gonna let you run. They know damn well who's playing quarterback. Nice conversion to DJ on 3rd gets him moving, but Mitch can't find anybody open on the next 3rd until he scrambles 20 yards behind the line and connects well behind the sticks, and this brief drive is dead in the water. Back to the Ravens and the dominant J.K. Dobbins, who in shades of Dalvin Cook last year averaged something like 21 yards a carry, and Baltimore's looking to extend their meager lead. Huntley finds the mostly quiet on the day Mark Andrews, whom yours truly traded for a 5th-round pick in my fantasy league last week. I guess something worked out for me in sports, and the Ravens are in business at the logo. Because quarterback concussions are all the rage in 2022, Minkah happily applies one to Huntley on a brutal hit, and both he and this drive are 6 feet under. With yet another chance still down just 6, does the Steelers offense have it in them to take control? It's a completion to the Pirates' Steven Sims, who finally got involved a little in the pass game. Chase Claypool he is not, don't at me. Followed by a really nice scramble and throw to the Najman over the middle. And just when you thought you were out, they're pulling you right back in. Ravens try their hand at the Steelers' bizarre practice of putting a linebacker on the shifty Deontay, and it works exactly how you'd imagine with a nifty little whop from number 18 on his way to a 1st. But sadly, as per usual, Mitchell Trubisky has no feel for the game, and when Matty C calls the shot play, he's taking the shot. It's so obviously and painfully not there, and it's not even to the large Pickens, but the small Deontay, and it is brutally and woefully picked by the Ravens for their 3rd plus side interception of the day. Got nothing fancy to say on this one except, how about you don't f***ing throw it? I've got no patience for this team today, and so from here on out, let's just talk while I leave the game up in the background. All you gotta know is the Ravens eventually eat a shitload of clock, tack on a field goal, and Trubisky grabs a too late touchdown, and Tomlin laughably trusts his defense like it's 2010 instead of trying an onside kick down 2, and the Ravens win 16-14. So what did we see today? Well, I think we saw the umpteenth and final rebuke of Mitch Trubisky as a successful quarterback in this league. As I said when he got benched against the Jets, this guy sucks and I'm tired of pretending he doesn't. And as I said in August, there was simply never any point to him being here, and certainly no point to him getting first team reps in camp and the first month of the season over Kenny Pickett. Laugh at me if you must, but if Tomlin was dead set on a veteran sacrificial lamb, why not just go with the guy who's been in the building for 5 years and has actually gone to battle for you in the past? People scream at me every time I bring it up, but I'm sorry. The Mason Rudolph we saw with a positive touchdown to interception ratio in his second year, after getting only virtual reps in his first, was a better player than we've seen Mitch Trubisky be in black and gold this year. I don't really care about that though. What I do care about is, what even would have been the point if he had done well? Would it really have mattered if we won an extra game or two with him over Pickett? No. It was short-sighted, stupid, and pointless. All it did was underline how uncomfortable Tomlin was with being uncomfortable after years of Roethlisberger bailing his ass out and realizing once they kicked him to the curb that they weren't sure where to go from there. Say what you want about the talent level of this team as it's currently constructed, but in my opinion, with what we've seen from Kenny Pickett, I think it's perfectly reasonable to wonder if he could have pulled out wins against the Patriots and Jets, and possibly even convert more than a pathetic 20 points off 5 turnovers in week 1, so that maybe TJ Watt wasn't even needed as time winded down. Could this team be 7-6 or 8-5 if things went just slightly differently? Yeah, I think they absolutely could have. But they aren't, and sadly this season, for all intents and purposes, is over from a competitive standpoint. For the first time since 2003, the Steelers have nothing to play for with a month left of games, and to be blunt, it's just a f***ing bummer. We'll see where things go from here on out, particularly with the concussion situation faced by KP, but the one thing that's for sure is the results of these next 4 games will serve no purpose other than altering the team's much-needed draft picks. If I were to leave you on anything slightly positive, it's that Ben Roethlisberger's final season continues to look rosier and rosier in the rearview mirror the further we get away from it. In my opinion, that team was way worse top to bottom than this incarnation, and despite the relative youth, athleticism, and so-called quarterback mobility of this year's group, through 13 games, the Steelers combined for a putrid 8 passing touchdowns to 13 interceptions. The old decrepit Roethlisberger that they couldn't have run out of town fast enough? 22-10 with 7 game-winning drives. I'd say that's old news, but it's been a hell of a long time since we've had any new news to be proud of, hasn't it? Here we go.